Welcome back to our podcast. I'm the gentleman, accompanied by the disturbed Southern Belle.
Hello.
And this episode is about the cryptids of Mexico. And while there are the easy subjects like La Llorona and the Chupacabra, I thought we should cover the cryptids that are a bit lesser known.
Right.
And so, starting this episode is the Nahual, also called the Nagual. And according to certain traditions, each person is said to have the spirit of an animal inside of them. And it's kind of like the Native American spirit animal type thing, where this spirit is supposed to manifest inside of the dreams of a person to guide them. However, in Mesoamerica, which includes Northern America and Northern and Central Mexico, as well as all of Belize, Costa Rica, and many more that I don't think are relevant for this episode.
Right.
The witches and shamans of Mesoamerica are said to have such a close bond with their Naguals or Nahuals that they're able to harness the powers of these animals. Like a shaman whose spirit animal is the hawk can harness superior and almost borderline superhuman eyesight. Which is very interesting to me.
It's very cool. Definitely.
Some, actually, a very, very small majority, are capable of even transforming into their spirit animals, like shapeshifters.
Right. That's very cool.
This is honestly probably one of my personal favorites, just because of how cool it is.
Right. It is. It definitely is.
And it does have some very obvious similarities to Native American beliefs. However, this is like ancient Mayan, so probably a fair bit earlier.
Right. Exactly.
So next is El Demonio Negro, which translates roughly to the Black Demon. This cryptid is an enormous black shark whose territory is said to be Mexico's Baja California Peninsula.
Okay. A shark. All right.
Yep. Very surprising.
Yeah.
With the name like the Black Demon.
The Black Demon, right. You don't hear about a lot of shark cryptids, period.
Actually, no, you don't. I can only think of like 3 or 4.
No, you don't.
But anyways, there have been numerous sightings, in recent years at least, by fishermen, and the shark is said to be anywhere from 50 to 1,000 pounds.
Goodness.
And anywhere between 20 to 60 feet.
That's a huge difference in size. I mean.
Yeah.
Humongous difference in size. But okay.
So, it's said to resemble a great white, but with a dark coloration. There have been theories that this shark was supposed to be the Megalodon.
Right.
Which would make sense.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge. And it's supposed to have been sort of more, I think, a more darker color too. So
yeah,
maybe.
Actually, there's also a theory that it's just some odd unclassified species of shark.
Mm-hmm.
And many, many expeditions were launched to try to find this absolute beast. However, none of them panned out, obviously. It's still classified as a cryptid.
Right.
And what's interesting is that it was actually featured on an old American TV show called Monster Quest, which aired from 2007 to 2010.
What? So it's pretty well known then, I guess.
Yeah. It's one of the...
I haven't heard of it, but yeah, it had to be pretty well known to
have an actual...
following, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right.
So next is the Hoga, which... This one's a fair bit weird compared to these others, which have just been standard animal type related stuff.
Right.
This creature has head and ears that resemble that of a hog. And while it's the size of a seal, it can kind of change its color when it's underwater, which it is a amphibious type creature. And it can change kind of like a chameleon from red to yellow to green, somewhere like that, in that range.
Okay.
And it actually lives near the shores, and it's so that way it can eat the leaves of a hoga tree, which is where it gets its name, I assume.
Right, probably.
However, while it just based off of this description, it seems like it would be an herbivore.
Mm-hmm.
It is exceptionally hostile to people.
Okay, that is odd.
I don't know if it eats them or just attacks them, but
Right.
it is very hostile.
That's odd for an herbivore because most of them are not. Well,
They're more docile.
Right. I'm not saying they wouldn't attack in certain situations, but they're not usually coming at you, so to speak.
Yeah. And so the last that I actually have listed for this episode, just because I cannot pronounce so many of these, I've tried, is the Kamazotz, which is a giant vampire bat from really old ancient Mayan mythologies. And this is actually seen as kind of a godlike figure.
Right. Okay.
Well, kind of, or it's based off of one. It's hard to tell. Some stories that I've read kind of go both ways.
Right.
So in Mayan mythology, this creature is also called the death bat as well as the snatch bat because it's a vampire bat.
Mm-hmm.
It's carnivorous, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Well, yeah.
So this one is really interesting to me because it actually has seen recent sightings, semi-recent, last 2 decades.
Right.
So the first listed, the earliest, was in Monterrey, Mexico in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is way too long and convoluted for me to keep up with because it's a lot of the words don't have exact English translations.
Exactly.
So the best I can do here is to just advise anyone who's really interested in this, because from what I can piece together, it's really interesting. It was very well documented on a website called MexicoUnexplained.com, which, yeah, this is actually a really big one. There's also a sighting in Chihuahua, Mexico in 2009, where a man was traveling home along the road that was, a road that was rarely ever used in his part of the kind of backcountry type area. Right. And he saw a dark figure hunched over in the middle of the road, and it looked like he was feeding on something, or it was feeding on something.
Oh my gosh.
And once he got closer, the figure stood up, turned around, and stared directly at him.
Oh,
and this man was riding in a Jeep, so,
That's freaky.
I don't think that'd make too much difference, because from what I've read, it was about the size of the Mothman.
Oh, okay.
So roughly 7 feet tall, a bit taller. And it had massive wings.
Okay.
Like, the story specifically said massive wings.
Right.
And completely dark, just completely pitch black.
Pitch black, like a shadow, yeah.
Yeah. And completely furry face, all that.
Right.
And he just panicked and ran, basically. Right. He just drove away in a fear.
But it looks like a person, so it doesn't look like a bat, in the face.
It's vaguely humanoid in shape.
Okay.
This was also documented in a newspaper called The Herald of Chihuahua, which I think I was able to find. I'm not sure if it was the exact story or not. There were some different versions. Right. But another source I highly recommend checking out. And so that will be it for me. So I'll turn it over to the Belle so she can tell you of her next episode.
Okay, so our next episode, we're going to be talking about some Scandinavian folklore. Some really crazy tales that I've come up with. They are off the rails, grim style tales.
Oh.
And then we'll, of course, get into the cryptids after that, as usual. So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And don't forget to
stay disturbed.